got? Oh, we've got somebody else coming in. Right, we'll probably be letting people in for the next couple of minutes. I'll just have to keep an eye on things. So thanks everybody for coming tonight. I'm going to share screen in a second. I'm not that familiar with Google Meet, so you might have to bear with me. I think I know what I'm doing, but we usually use Zoom, but it's just much easier and it's compatible using this software instead. So I will just. Okay. I knew this had happened. I had it a second ago. Let's have a look. Okay, right, here we go. Right, so share screen. There we go, easy as that. Right, okay, everyone see that?
Yeah.
Great stuff, fabulous. Right, so, well, the purpose of this meeting, we'll just go through a few things. It hopefully won't keep you for too long, but I just think it's really, really important. We've not kind of done this before. We usually do, we'll have a meeting, and we will have one in January. We used to have one in January where it'd just be sort of ramping things up and thinking about SATs and all that kind of thing. But one of the things that that our new CEO, Joe Nolan, has suggested that we do is to actually have a meeting right at the start of the year, which I think is the right thing to do, where we can just have a chat with parents, just to sort of, so they know exactly what's going on in school and how best to support the children at home. So basically this is just kind of a roundup of what we're going to do. So there'll be a bit of a welcome to start with, and then some information about weekly routines, which Mrs. Ray and Miss Norton will talk us through. And then about SATs test themselves, test week, scores and codes, a little bit about how we're going to prepare the children, and then some information from Mr. Starbuck about access arrangements, which he'll explain, and then how you guys can help support the children. And then what we'll do, so we're not keeping people here, is if you have any questions, if it's okay, just to send them through either through Class Dojo to your teachers, or if you do it on a private message on the Facebook page, that gets straight to myself and the other members of SLT. Or if you just catch us on the gate, if you've got any questions, I think that's probably going to be the best way of doing it, because I suspect hopefully you'll have any questions, but I suspect there'll be similar questions. So just in the interest, I don't want to waste anybody's time. That's basically the reason. So I'll make a start. So as you know, it's an important year. It's the final year at St Giles. And the expectations are high throughout the school, but particularly so in Year 6. But there's an awful lot of support. We've got a higher staff ratio in Year 6. The teachers are incredibly experienced. Mr. Starbuck has taught for an awful lot of time in Year 6. And it's a priority for the school because we want to make sure that the children are prepared for secondary school. So there's lots of different reasons why it's important, but from our point of view, if we haven't prepared them for secondary school, then we haven't done our jobs properly. So that's why it's really, really important. The purple jumpers, as I'm sure you know, they distinguish the children from the rest of the school. They are then role models, and I've talked to the children an awful lot about, and as have their teachers, about how when you're in Year 6, you wear those purple jumpers, you stand out, and you stand out when you do the right thing, and you also stand out if you make the wrong choices as well. So we've talked an awful lot about being positive role models to the younger children in the school, because they will copy them. Make no mistake how much they look up to the Year 6 children. So it's a big responsibility, but they're ready for it. They're ready for it, and we've talked to them about it in Year 5. We've talked to them about it this year as well, and we'll do throughout the year as well. And as I've already kind of mentioned, really, a good Year 6 is really good preparation for them for secondary school. And, they work hard this year, and naturally next year will be a lot easier. It'll be a lot easier. It's a really good transition. And the other thing for me, really, and we'll come to later, is about us working together. And, if there are issues that you're finding, we need to know about them. And similarly, if there's things that we're concerned about, that we'll let you know about. And also, when things are going really well, which will be the vast majority of the time, we want to talk to you about that as well. There'll be lots of opportunities to let you know how well the children are doing, because that is so important, that you know what they're doing well. most importantly, but also what they might need some support with in school and sometimes at home as well. The vast majority of things they will do in school, but there will be some things that they will do away from school as well, as part of some home learning as well. Okay, so I don't know if I want to, I mean, I can read this out really. These are the weekly routines. So the reading records, so they've been given out, and obviously reading is encouraged at home as much as possible if they can read at home. You know, we can't do it all in school. That is something that you really can help out with. Each Friday, the children will be sent home with maths SPAG, which is like your punctuation and grammar, and reading homework in the CGP books. They're similar to the ones that they had in Year 5. And then obviously TT Rockstars is something that they can do at home as well regularly. And if there's any issues with technology, please let us know, and we'll do what we can to help out. Okay, so SATS tests. They've not had them properly for the last couple of years due to COVID. We did run them as similarly as possible last year because we wanted last year's Year 6 to experience something, because it is part of primary school. The whole thing, you know, the build-up, the SATS week, the breakfast club, it's all part of being in Year 6, and we felt, you know, that we didn't want them to miss out. You know, and it's good preparation for them for secondary school. So the end of Key Stage 2 tests are sometimes, assessments are sometimes referred to as SATs, very often we call them SATs, and they run across the country at the same time for Year 6 pupils. And the tests that they do are reading, grammar, punctuation and vocabulary, which is also sometimes called SPAG. And as part of that, there's spelling. And then there's the maths paper. So we've got the arithmetic paper, and then there are 2 mathematical reasoning papers. They are spread out Monday to Thursday of SATS week. Okay, and we have to do them on certain days, but we have got some flexibility in terms of the timings. But generally, we'll do them in the mornings when the children are most fresh. And it's part and parcel of you know, they're statutory, so these are what schools have to do. And as I say, they are important. They're important for the children, they're important for the school, but staff are really skilled at sort of dulling that down. We want them to try their hardest, but obviously we don't want them to get unduly stressed or anything like that. Okay, if I just pass on to Miss Norton, there's an awful lot of information on here. We're not going to read everything out because I say I'll share this text with you. So they're just going to read out a couple of key points from there, and then we'll move on. Okay, Miss Norton?
Okay, hopefully you can hear me okay, because it's just been told net's unstable. Okay, super. So the reading paper is a 1-hour reading paper which requires the children to read 3 different texts. These can be fiction, non-fiction or poetry. They have an hour to read the text and to answer all the questions linked to the text. Now, throughout the year, we do lots of focuses with different types of text, the questioning styles that they have. So prepare the children as best we can. But this is one of the hardest ones the children find, because we can't help them in any way. They have to be able to do it all themselves and read it all themselves. So we do prepare them, and we are starting SATS booster groups in the next couple of weeks to focus on reading to help them with that. You can see on the next slide here that we've just got some sample questions of what they look like. So some of them are as simple as tick a box, fact or opinion, or circle the answers, and then we have some further detailed ones. So this is the reading is the main one really, where they have to write quite a bit. So there's sometimes a 3-mark question where there's maybe half a page or so they have to write. So we do prepare them throughout the year to get them practicing on different styles of questions and building up to that 3-mark style. I'll pass on to Mrs. Ray now. She'll talk through a little bit more about the maths.
So for maths, the children will sit 3 papers for maths. They will sit them, so first of all, they'll sit an arithmetic paper. The arithmetic paper lasts 30 minutes, and there are 36 questions to answer in the time. And it covers things like multiplication, division, times tables, addition, subtraction, bid maths, which is mixed operation calculations, and fraction, decimals and percentage questions. This is one that we're working on at the minute. We're doing daily practice on arithmetic. It's mainly for the speed, because there's quite a lot for the children to do in a short amount of time. So this is where things like the practice of their times tables at home will really help them. The practice of addition and subtraction calculations will really help them. So the more they can be doing that at home will be really helpful to them. And then here are some of the questions that they will be expected to do. So you can see here we've got fraction questions. This one here, there's another division one, and these are just a couple of the types of questions that they'll be expected to do, and how it's kind of set out in the paper. The majority of the marks on this paper are worth 1 mark, but there's normally about 3 or 4 questions which are worth 2 marks, and they're your long division and long multiplication questions, which is something that we're currently working on with the children in school now. So if there's something, if you think, oh, what are they doing? That's what we're doing at the moment. So we're really focusing on that in year 6. And then, as well as the arithmetic paper, they'll have 2 reasoning papers. Each of these papers are worth 35 marks, and the paper lasts 40 minutes. They basically are there to give the children the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge and skills around maths, and them to show more of a ability to solve problems and to explain their reasoning. And they can focus on all areas of maths, including the ones that are listed for the arithmetic paper, but also alongside things like geometry with properties of shape, position and direction, measurements, algebra, ratio and proportion, and a lot more on fractions, decimals and percentages. And this is something that the children do see in school. So we, alongside the arithmetic stuff, we also do this in our math lessons as well. So the children are used to seeing these kind of questions and these type of papers. And you can just see here a couple of the questions that the children are expected to do. They're often in a context of a word problem or something that requires them to do quite a bit of working out or explaining how they've got about getting their answer. So there's some of the questions that they'll get for maths.
Great stuff. Thanks for that. Great stuff. So the SPAG is spelling, punctuation and grammar. So they sit 2 papers. So the first paper is a grammar test for 45 minutes and includes questions on those areas. So grammatical terms, verb forms, punctuation, vocabulary, and those kinds of things. And then there's some questions there, some example questions there. So they've got to decide for that particular one whether that's an adjective or a verb. And then after a short break, they'll then sit a spelling test, which is out of 20, and that lasts for around 15 minutes. And for example, they've got to insert a word within a sentence, ensuring they can spell it correctly in context. And some of the things, in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, all of them think they have to be spelled correctly as well on the example question. Is that right, Year 6 staff?
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so there's it's a real focus on the spelling and the grammar throughout it. They will give some leeway on certain things, and obviously when the marking scheme comes out and it's shared with us, there are times when we can query some things, or if we're actually, because obviously markers make mistakes, we go through all of the papers every year and make sure that the children haven't missed out on anything that they should have got. And occasionally they do change them, not very often, but they have done in the past. So that's just something with you guys worth knowing as well. So yeah, test week. So it's week commencing Monday, the 9th of May, and that's the order of the tests. So on the Monday, it's the spelling, punctuation and grammar, and then the grammar test afterwards. And then on the Tuesday, it's the reading test. Wednesday, they do the arithmetic paper. And the first reasoning paper, is that right? On the Wednesday, they do them all on the Wednesday. No, and then the Thursday they do maths paper 3. So they do the first 2 papers on the Wednesday, and then the paper 3, the second reasoning paper, on the Thursday. And as usual, we will be running a breakfast club for the children. I think it's important for them. It gets them in, it gets them settled. And also a chance to see their pals. They don't have to come. It's optional, but we'd encourage it because it's, they don't have to eat anything they don't want to, but it's a nice calming environment, and we just get the children ready and settled. And only when they're ready and settled will we start the tests. Okay, so the children, they get a raw score, and that's converted into a scaled score between 80 and 120. And a scaled score of 100 is what they would class as a passed mark. And that would mean that the children have reached the expected standard. Scaled score of 110 or more means the children have achieved the higher standard, which is greater depth. And you will get this information from us at the end of the year. You may not necessarily get the actual the number, although the children will I'm sure they will pass that on, but you will find out whether they are working towards at the expected standard or at greater depth. And that will be coming home to you in the reports at the end of the year. As I've already mentioned, the tests are sent away for marking. It's very, very strict the way that they run these things. We get the test papers a few weeks beforehand. They have to be securely locked away in a cupboard where only I've got the key. And then they're also in sealed packaging. And when on the day of the test, we only take out the subject that we are doing on that day. That's then handed out to the children. It's all taken in alphabetical order. It's all sealed away and it's all put away. This is all to protect the what's the word I'm looking for? Just basically to make sure that schools don't cheat, because that has happened in some schools in the past. So it's to make sure that schools don't cheat. People come in to check on it as well. So basically, it's just to make sure that everything is done properly. Okay. Right, so Miss Norton's going to just talk really quickly about how we do the writing, because the writing is not assessed through tests.
Yeah, so the writing is done differently. It's not a test environment where they have to sit down and do a piece of writing like it has been in the past. This writing is done throughout the year, and the teachers in year 6 go on several moderations throughout the year to work with other schools to check alongside what they're doing and to match our judgments with theirs. The children will have access to a writing criteria which we have to mark their work against, so they're aware of what they should be including, as well as ourselves. We get the children to edit their work to peer mark, just so they get used to what they're meant to be putting in their writing. One of the reasons we do the trips like to London and other things is for them to get the writing through their experiences and through how we're teaching from a text and stuff, to get all that in to help them build all their writing through their different experiences. But the final judgments, we might get moderated as a school, so our judgments might be assessed by others, but it is teacher assessment from a whole, and that's where we build the children's writing assessments from.
Brilliant, thank you. Mr. Starbuck, is that all right for you?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we will do across the academic year really is to prepare the children as best as possibly can do for these SATS tests. So we do run 4 formal sort of mock weeks. Like I said, there's 2 reasons for this really. First of all, to get the children used to the style of the questions and being in tests and all that sort of stuff, but it also gives us a really good indication and where to base our sort of teaching and learning moving forward really. So when we do have a test week, please tell your children or your not to worry. We'll go through it all with them in terms of it is normally for us to have a really good understanding of what they've learned so far, and what they need to obviously to move to progress. And we do understand, and we explain to the children as well that the first one is in October, so is it a couple of weeks' time. They've only been in year 6 for 3 weeks, and it is an end of year 6 test. So in terms of if they come home and they say they can't do any of the questions or they can't do this, please tell them not to worry. We'll reiterate this to them as well, because a lot of the stuff on the paper they wouldn't have even covered yet, just because of where it is in the year really. Yeah, so in terms of they're really low stakes, but really, really important for them to get practicing used to it, and for us to get a really clear indication of where these children are working at really.
Thanks, Mr. Starbuck. Yeah, just a little bit on the access arrangements.
Yeah, so I don't think it affects it. I'm looking at the names at the bottom of the screen. I don't think it affects any of your children, but I'll say it anyway, just obviously for the recording, that some children will need some access arrangements to help support them do the tests. This can be lots of different ways. This could be working in a room on their own. So, for example, we have some in the meeting room with members of staff with them. They can have some additional time for processing. Some of them have a scribe. Some of them have extra rest breaks. But it's something we have to apply for, and something that myself, Mrs. Ray and Miss Norton will be liaising with them parents really. If your child, for example, breaks their arm, falls off their bike and breaks their arm and ends up in hospital and has a broken arm on the day before the test, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, when they're well, they can come in and we can scribe them, and all them sort of things, all them eventualities are covered. If they are really, really poorly on the week of the test, that's okay. We do have 2 weeks to do the testing, but obviously it's more beneficial for them to obviously do the test in the time period that we set. Yeah, so in terms of, like I said, I don't think there's any, looking at the children whose parents are here today, that they wouldn't probably get access arrangements or wouldn't need them, even if they might be entitled to them. I don't think they would need them. But for any parents watching this on record, myself, Mrs. Ray and Miss Norton will be in contact around access arrangements and things like that, really.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we've kind of covered this already. It's just about being supportive. If you're worried, getting in touch with us so we can reassure you, just reassuring the children, to do the best they can. And we'll say this to the children all throughout the year. All they need to do is if they work hard and they try their best, then whatever they get, we'll be proud of them. And I know you'll be saying the same thing as well. That's really, really important, that they are important, these tests. But all they have to do is try their hardest. Okay. And it's just like obvious things, really. Just if they can have a quiet place to go and work, if they wanted to do some practice, the vast majority of things we'll do in school, as we've already said, but there will be times when there'll be things for them to do at home as well. Making sure they get a good night's sleep, particularly in the run up to the tests, and some breakfast, really, really important for concentration. And we understand that sometimes the children haven't had a breakfast for whatever reason, and please let us know. Okay, please let us know. Don't be proud. Please let us know. And if we know they've not had breakfast, then we'll sort it out, and we can make sure that they do get something to eat, because they won't be able to concentrate as well if they haven't eaten properly in the morning. Okay, it sounds obvious, doesn't it? But it's so important that we work together. It's really, we've got really positive relationships with parents, and we didn't always have. A few years ago, we didn't always have positive relationships with parents, but we have now. And I'd like to think that we're very approachable. We're very visible outside. And if there are issues, please talk to us and let us know about it. The only thing I've not mentioned is holidays. We don't, it's only in exceptional circumstances that I would authorise a holiday in term time. Please do not book any holiday during the week commencing the 9th of May, and also in the weeks coming up to that. Obviously, I prefer you didn't book any holidays, but we understand the pressures that you're under financially, etc. But certainly in the weeks coming up to the test, they are crucial, and we get through so much work with them. And a week or 2 weeks, even a few days missed there, could have a real detrimental effect to the preparation for the tests. So please, no holidays. Thank you very much for that. Right. With questions, I think I said so at the start. We won't go through those now. Let me see if I can stop sharing so I can see some faces. There we go. That's better. So we won't go through questions now. I know there's only a couple of you, but we'll give everyone the same opportunity. If there's anything that we've not covered, anything you want to find out about, any more details, catch us on the door. Class Dojo, catch us at the end of the day. The main thing is we wanted a chance to talk to you all, to let you know about what's happening and to explain a few things. And I've not gone into this much detail before with parents, and I think it's really important that we do, that you want to sort of understand a bit more about the kind of things that the children will be doing. Okay. Thanks ever so much. Thanks ever so much, both of you. And we'll share this video with everybody else, and I will also put it on the newsletter this week too. Okay. Thanks everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.